brought to you by Games Corner. Games Corner is a unique console-based gaming experience with 3D and LED screens, all within a comfortable atmosphere. Become a Games Corner franchisee now and bring this one-of-a-kind opportunity to your location. For more information, visit us at gamescorner.com.
Hi everyone, this is Ahmed Karimli and welcome to Be Efficient TV. The mission of this web TV show is to boost the efficiency of your business and lifestyle through tips and tricks from leading experts. And today I have with me Arman Sadeghi. He is the creator of Titanium Success Method, and he is the founder and CEO of Reuse Tech and All Green Electronics Recycling. Welcome to the show, Arman.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. So from starting a couple of computer companies, then to a nightclub, and then into a green company. Take us through this journey.
Well, you know, I've always had an entrepreneurial mind. I've been working since I was 11 years old. My first job was a paper boy, delivering newspapers for the Orange County Register when I was 11 on my bicycle. So I've always enjoyed working hard, and I've always loved trying new things and being an entrepreneur. And so that has led me down many different paths, companies that really seemingly have nothing to do with each other, but they all have something to do with each other in that they involve people. And I love working with people. So whatever excuse I can find, whether it's a computer company or it's recycling or my digital marketing company or Titanium Success, which is my coaching and seminar business, whatever it is, as long as I'm working with people, I find that I'm happy and that I can add value.
But how from computer to nightclub and then to a green company? So,
you know, I was one of those kids who in the early 90s, I got into computers. And so I was very, very excited about computers at a time where most people didn't know much about them. And I worked at Montgomery Ward's, which is a department store that's no longer in business, and also Circuit City, again, no longer in business. But I worked for both those companies in the early and mid 90s, or early 90s. And so I learned a lot about computers, and so I set up a computer business when I was just 15 or 16 years old. I actually dropped out of high school and started the computer business because I was interested in IT. And so to fast forward, at some point I decided to go back to school, and I went back to school and followed my one of my passions, which is medicine and science, the sciences. So I got my degree in neuroscience and molecular and cell biology, which has nothing to do with any of those three things. And then when I got out, I sort of went back into IT. And like I said, I'm an entrepreneur. I love business, and an opportunity came up to purchase a restaurant that was going out of business. And when I got in and started managing the restaurant, I recognized the only way to save it was to generate revenue on the weekends, and the way to do that was to start a nightclub in it. So in an attempt to save the business, which I did, we started the nightclub, and it worked out very well. And so
then you sold it?
Yes, I did. Yeah. And so I spent some time in the restaurant and nightclub business before going back and then continuing my education with neuroscience. So I ended up going to medical school, actually, and attended Harvard Medical School for 2 years. And at that point, I decided that there were better ways for me to help people than through, prescribing them medications and things like that.
So you didn't finish?
I did not finish, no.
Okay.
And so I left Boston, moved back to California, and at that time I was looking for my next entrepreneurial venture. Attending school at Berkeley, I was taught to be very green and very environmentally conscious. And so I heard about this opportunity, about this potential, actually problem that I learned about on this show 60 Minutes on CBS. And I saw it and saw that electronic equipment was being junked and dumped in third world countries, developing nations. And so I decided that, this was something I could do something about. And not only would I be doing good for the environment and helping people and potentially saving lives, but also at a time where the economy was horrible. It was 2007, right when the markets had crashed. and I realized I could create green jobs. And so I put it all together, and I'm blessed that today we have a company with over 100 employees. We were just named the 366th fastest growing company in the country by Inc. magazine. And so we've created jobs, we're doing the green thing, and I'm having a lot of fun because, I'm an entrepreneur and I love business. So All Green is one of 6 businesses that I currently run, but I do spend a lot of time here. As you can tell with the green walls behind me, I'm at All Green right now.
What are the other companies you have, like Reuse Tech? Also, it's into green stuff. Or the other companies you are just an investor? And also tell us how it works at All Green Electronics, like how you collect those things and then recycle them.
Absolutely. So Reuse Tech is a sister company to All Green. The services that Reuse Tech provides are very similar at the start to All Green, where All Green is all about recycling materials. The EPA has this standard of reduce, reuse, recycle, which means that if something can be put into reuse, it's best to refurbish the product and have it reused than to just basically break it apart and scrap it. And so All Green's main function is taking items that have no potential use and dismantling them down to their commodities, such as steel or plastic, aluminum, copper, and taking those commodities and then using them to make new products. Reuse Tech, on the other hand, doesn't go down to the commodity level. Reuse Tech is all about refurbishing equipment and reselling it. So we have a lot of clients who upgrade IT equipment, and most of our clients for Reuse Tech are large-scale corporations where they have hundreds or thousands of, say, laptops or servers or something like that. And what we do is we take all that equipment from them and we sell it and give them back 70% of the revenue. So it's sort of a consignment job that we do for them. And in some cases, we just buy the equipment outright. So a company may have 2,000 laptops or 200 laptops, whatever it is. We buy the laptops from them, refurbish them, and resell them. But those two are very closely related companies. In fact, my third business is also fairly closely related and came as a result of having these two businesses and seeing that there was an additional need in the marketplace. That company is called Data Destruction Corporation, and that business specializes in destroying electronic data. So we have these trucks that operate all throughout the country, where the truck can actually go to a facility, go to a business or a data center, and actually shred hard drives on site. So they're these beautifully designed trucks. We have them custom built. We invest about $500,000 in each of these trucks. So they have this specialized shredder on board. They have degaussers on board that use magnets to wipe data, and then we go through a lot of different steps to ensure data security with that company. To make the long story short, those are three of the companies, and they're sort of related. The fourth company is I have a digital marketing company where we create websites and do search engine optimization, pay-per-click, things like that. My fifth company is actually a photography and videography studio in Newport Beach, California. And then my last business, which is my mission and my passion in life, is my coaching and my coaching business, right? I hold seminars. I do one-on-one coaching for, I call it peak performance coaching. I help people who are successful to really get to that next level. And that's been my mission in life, my entire life. And I've finally made it into a business because within the next few years, I want to transition to where I'm spending 100% of my time in that business, which is called Titanium Success. Because it truly is my mission and my passion, and I want to take more of an investor role or a chairman of the board role in all the other companies.
So what is the Titanium Success method?
Well, Titanium Success is based on this concept that in order to find true happiness in your life, you have to have a well-balanced life. Now, well-balanced is a word that is a phrase that people use often and misuse, I believe, and in some cases abuse, where it's an excuse for some people to be lazy. It's to say, well, I want to have a well-balanced life. And what that means is they want to work 8 hours a day, take the weekends off, take holidays off, and that to them is balance. To me, that's not balance at all, because a lot of the people who work 8 hours a day and 40 hours a week, if you were to talk to their spouses and you were to talk to their children, they would still tell you that they're not spending any time with them. So they're using it as an excuse, but not finding true balance. So I work with people to find true balance in their lives, and that often means they end up working more, but it also means that they get more fulfillment out of their lives, because now they're spending quality time if they're married with their spouse. They're spending quality time if they have children with their children, and they're living their lives in a way where they have total balance. And that is, I mentioned 3 of those areas so far. I mentioned career, I mentioned your intimate relationship, and I also mentioned family, which is what your children fall into. But I have a wheel of life essentially that has 7 more areas. And those areas are things such as spiritual health, emotional health, your physical body, so physical health, contribution, giving back to society, managing your time properly and consistently growing. So those are just some of the areas, but really I focus on making sure that people find balance in all of those areas. And so they're not succeeding at 8 areas and then letting 2 of them fall short. And that's what you see often with people, is they'll find success in some of the areas, and because someone told them that's what it takes to be successful. But unfortunately, they will not be as good at finding success in the other areas. And so I work with people and using this titanium success method to help them find true balance in all of those areas and live all of those areas at the peak.
You were very successful but not so happy. Is that what inspired you to make this company? And is now your plan is to, let's say, to hand over your companies into other CEOs, and then you just focus on this one for more fulfillment in your life?
Yeah, so what you're talking about, me having success and not fulfillment, that was 21 years ago. I'm 37 years old now. Is when I was, believe it or not, 16 years old, I was very successful in the terms of what I thought success was, which is I owned a computer business. I had, at the age of 16, I had a 2-bedroom apartment. I drove a nice car. I would take trips all the time, and I had all the money I could spend, which looking back wasn't that much money. But at the time, as a 16-year-old kid growing up in a very, very modest household, I felt like I had all the money in the world. And so I had essentially everything I was supposed to have in order to be happy, yet I was miserable. I had a hard time sleeping at night. I would often sit up till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning watching television and barely getting myself to sleep. I would drag around all day, and I wasn't fulfilled. And what happened is I was very blessed in that one of those nights, as I was watching television, I saw an infomercial from a gentleman named Tony Robbins, and it was a beautiful experience because I purchased some of his CDs, and that was the catalyst to me really turning my entire life around. And that was the time when I decided that I was going to go after fulfillment instead of just success, because what I had been told about success was make yourself a company, make a lot of money, get a pretty girlfriend, have a nice car and a nice house, and travel a lot, and you'll be happy. And to this day, I meet with a lot of people who think that's a great formula for happiness. But the reality of it is, as I discovered, it was not, because I hadn't learned the art of fulfillment, yet I learned about the science of success. So I knew how to make a successful company. I knew how to have a pretty girlfriend. I knew how to have a nice car. I knew how to travel. But I had not learned yet how to get fulfillment from that relationship with that woman, or how to get fulfillment out of the job I'm doing in the company that I'm operating. And so I spent, these last 21 years or so, or 22 years actually, have been this path of consistently discovering more and more ways of not only having success, but also having fulfillment. And along the way, I found shortcuts to success, and I found shortcuts to fulfillment, and my mission in life is to share that with people as much as I possibly can.
What's the difference in plain English between success and fulfillment, and how to gain satisfaction, happiness, and fulfillment?
It's a great question. Success is the things that we think are going to bring us happiness, right? So in plain English, success is if I have money, right, I'll find happiness. And if I have this kind of a career, I find happiness. And I think most of the population, a majority of people, live by those types of rules for success. Now, I've redefined the word success so that for me, success includes fulfillment. So it depends on how I'm using the word. For me, I don't consider myself to be successful unless I'm fulfilled. So if you say, Arman, when this interview is over, you ask me, Arman, was this interview a success for you? It used to be that I would look at the facts and say, well, I said the right thing at the right time. We didn't have any issues with our connection. And so therefore it was a successful interview. But today I wouldn't judge it that way. I would say, yes, I said what I wanted to say. I didn't accidentally say things that I don't mean. I was genuine. My hair was nice. All that stuff is great. We had a good connection. But did I enjoy the process? And if I didn't enjoy the process, I would say it's not a success. But if I had a good time and I truly enjoyed the interaction with you and I got to enjoy sharing my life with wonderful people out there, then I can say, hey, I enjoyed it, and therefore it was a successful interview. But that's my definition of success now after 22 years of consistently recreating it. But if we want to really talk about success and fulfillment the way that I believe most people define it, I would say success is a science. It's like a math formula. It's a physics equation. You do A, B, C, and D, and you're going to get your result. So in a business, success is often people judge it by profits. Well, in a business, when I coach business people, I can help them attain success in their business. That's very easy, right? Fulfillment, though, is really truly an art, is to learn how to not only make a profit within your business, but enjoy doing it and make sure you have employees who enjoy doing it. And in my opinion, when you take fulfillment and you insert it inside of success, so what you really have is you have success as a package of those two. That's when you find true success and true happiness and true fulfillment in your life.
Which one of those three is like more important: satisfaction, happiness, and fulfillment? And why?
Well, satisfaction, happiness, and fulfillment, I really think those words are essentially describing the same things. But to me, satisfaction is at a level where your basic needs are met. Happiness is one notch above that to me, where not only are your basic needs met and are you satisfied with where things are at, but you're finding joy in them. Right, so there's happiness, there's joy in what you're achieving. When you get to fulfillment, I just think it's a bigger word that's more encompassing, and I think fulfillment means that not only are you feeding your needs for the short term, but in your mind you know that what you're doing is going to serve you in the long term. And I think that's where true fulfillment comes from, is knowing that it's not short-lived happiness. It's truly going to be long-term happiness that you can enjoy for hopefully the rest of your life, but if not, at least for some time into the future.
Is work-life balance is a myth, and how to create a real-life balance?
So again, a very good question. Work-life balance is certainly not a myth. I think you need to have balance between work and your personal life. But it's not really work-life balance. It's balance on 10 different areas in a pie that we have. So if you imagine a pizza and it's 10 different slices, your work is your career and possibly your finances, which is another one of those slices. That's what your work encompasses. So it's not that you're either working or you're not, right? It's that you're either working or you're in your intimate relationship or you're with your family, or you're working on your body, you're working on your emotions. And so what you truly need is balance in all of those areas. But so when we talk about work-life balance, then I don't like the inherent concept of work-life, because I think you're just one person and work is a part of your life. And so what you want to do is, for example, I coach a lot of men who are busy business people, and their wives are always complaining about not spending time with them. And the wives would claim, well, he doesn't have work-life balance. Yet when you talk to him, he says, hey, I work 12 hours a day. After work, I go have beer with my friends. On Mondays, I watch Monday Night Football. And on Sundays, I watch football. And on Saturdays, I watch college football. And on Friday nights, I go out with my friends. And I have work-life balance. But what that individual doesn't have is the one slice is fun, and maybe that's where they go to watch, Monday Night Football or have beer with their friends. But what they forget is life is bigger than just that slice of fun. Life also includes an incredible relationship with your children, which is family. And life also includes your intimate relationship. And what I see
even if he don't enjoy it, maybe he don't enjoy spending time with his wife.
Well, if someone is not enjoying time with their spouse, then my recommendation is to find out how to find joy in it. And if it means that that individual is not someone you can ever find happiness and joy with, well, I don't think you have any business being in that relationship, because having an intimate relationship that you truly feel comfortable with is something that most of us have a deep desire and need for. So to deny yourself of that, I don't think makes any sense. So I would not recommend personally for someone to stick around in a relationship where they're not fulfilled. However, I want to make sure I clarify this. You may not be happy and fulfilled in your relationship today, but the reason is not that it's not the right relationship for you. It is the right relationship. You're just not showing up as the right version of you. So perhaps you're a married man and your wife is not, you don't have a good relationship with your wife. Well, maybe it's because you're not romantic enough with her. Maybe it's because you don't show her enough love. Maybe you don't support her enough. Maybe you don't care for her enough. Maybe you're not spending time with her, being intimate, which is what an intimate relationship is all about. Or on the other hand, I've talked a lot about men. A lot of women, for example, that I coach and I work with, a lot of mothers, when I ask them what's important to you, they say family. And as soon as I hear that, I know there's something wrong. I say, well, where do your kids fall in? They say family. I say, well, where's your husband? And they say family. And my big thing is intimacy and your relationship with your spouse are completely separate than your family. And so therefore you can't spend time with your kids and your husband and claim that's time with your partner, because it's not. What your husband needs is completely different than what your kids need. And so then in essence, a lot of folks are unhappy with their relationship because the relationship they've created is not the one that they want, and it's not the one that their spouse wants, but they've sort of fallen into this trap of putting it all under family.
How to eliminate the junk and noise from our life?
It's a matter of understanding what you want in life and why you want it, because the noise is always going to be there. What you refer to as the junk will always be there, whether it's your email box and you're getting junk mail, or you're getting advertisements which are noise, or when you talk about the world itself, there's always going to be that noise, and there's going to be the quote-unquote junk that is always going to come at you. But the way that I believe we stay focused is by knowing what we truly want in life, and not what we want today, but what we want in our future, and having a clear-cut vision of that, not just for today or 6 months from now, but for at least the next 10 years of your life, and preferably for the next 30 years and beyond. And the way I work with people to do that, and I suggest people do it, is take those 10 different pieces of the pie and have written visions and written goals for what exactly you want in each of those areas. And what you've done, once you've done that, you're halfway there. It's one thing to know what you want, but then it's almost as important, if not more important, to then know why it is that you want those things, because the why is what's going to pull you closer and closer to those things. So your what in, let's say your relationship might be, I want to have a beautiful relationship with my spouse where we're close and we're intimate and we love each other, we're there for each other, and we live happily ever after. That's a great what. Now we say, well, why do you want that? And when you talk to a lot of men, for example, their why has to do with their career. Well, the reason I want that great relationship is because, some of the greatest men in the world have incredible relationships and have a woman in their life who they connect with, who makes them a better person. And that's the reality of why they want that relationship. And you may talk to someone else and they say, well, you know what? Because in my heart, I'm truly fulfilled whenever I have a connection with another human being. And if I have that warmth in my heart, it makes me unstoppable in other areas of my life. And so everyone's going to have a different type of why. But by having a clear what and having a clear why, it allows you not only to know what you want, but now the noise and the junk that's all around isn't going to be so intrusive and so magnetic for you, because you really know what it is that you want.
Is there any tools you use for to help you eliminate the noise from your life?
Well, the simple tools that I use is I use a system of managing my time where I review what I want and why I want those things in all 10 different aspects of my life on a regular basis.
What are the 10 different aspects, or the pies you call them?
Yeah, so I mentioned some of them earlier. I'll try to remember all from the top of my head. It's your intimate relationship, it's family, fun, contribution, emotional health, spiritual health, physical health, your career and or your mission, your finances, and consistent growth. So those 10 areas are the areas where at all times I want to know what I want in all 10 of those areas. And I have everything in my life fall into one of those 10 categories somehow. And by knowing what I want and why I want them, and reviewing them, it allows me to stay focused on them. And in fact, I use a time management system that I share with people, which is taking several different time management systems, taking the best of what they have and putting them together. That it revolves around this concept of making sure that any task that you're going to complete is getting you closer to one of those 10 goals.
What's the name of it?
It's just a titanium time management system, but it's based on a system by Franklin Covey. It's based on a Tony Robbins system called RPM. It's based on several other systems of time management, putting them all together.
So it's like a software that you sell?
It is not a software. No, it's a
just
in fact,
a method.
we're actually.
Okay.
It's a method, yeah. It's a system. We're actually working on a mobile phone app that'll come out in 2015 that'll allow you to utilize the time management system. But it's simply a method that I teach. That when I do my seminars, in fact, I think I've got one coming up in mid-November. But we do these courses, a one-day thing. But but the gist of the system that your viewers can pick up on just right now is. Take everything that you do in your life, any task that you have, whether it's going to the grocery store, calling a client, or taking your kids to the park, and ask yourself, which of these 10 goals is this going to get me closer to? And if it doesn't get you closer to any of the 10, then don't do it. And if it does get you closer to one of those 10, simply ask yourself a question of, is this the best way for me to get closer to this? So, for example, if I'm going to take my wife to the movies, and I say, well, that's for my intimate relationship, I ask myself, okay, is this getting me closer to something? Yes, this is for my intimate relationship. Okay, it's a thumbs up. But is there something I could do that would have more of an impact on my intimate relationship? And I might find, that day, maybe the movies isn't the best thing because maybe my wife doesn't like movies. Maybe the way to make my intimate relationship better is by going to dinner with her. Or maybe what she would rather do is if we just sat on a park bench and talked. And so maybe there's another task that gets me closer to my end goal. And of course, in your personal life, it's critical. But in business is where you really see this system shine, because I will sit with CEOs and directors of companies and high-level people, and I'll have them give me their task list for the day, and we'll look at the task list. And in any business, by the way, you have pieces of the pie as well. It's usually not 10. It can range anywhere from 5 to 12. But I create that for business people. And then when I go down their list, typically 50% of the items they have on the list or more either don't get them closer to any of their goals, or if they get them closer to the goal, there's another simpler task, and this is the key, simpler and less time-consuming task, that will get them closer to their goal than that particular task will.
So you promise in your coaching courses is to let the people discover their life, business balance, work balance within hours instead of years. How you do that? What you focus on your analysis with the people? Yeah,
well, I always start with trying to get people to really understand who they are and what they want in life. Because living in a society where 6 billion of us, and television and internet have such a drastic impact on how we think. Often we find ourselves living other people's lives, or we find ourselves simply living a life based on survival or based on not making the mistakes of the past. And instead, I have people dig in and just see, hey, who am I? And what am I all about? That's something we call identity. And knowing your true identity, I think, is a critical first step. And then after that is getting very, very clear on exactly what you want and why you want it in life. And again, in all those 10 different areas. And when that happens, the reason I say I can help people achieve results in a matter of hours or maybe days, weeks at the most, as opposed to waiting years, is because if you know what you want and you have a clear vision for where you're headed, suddenly life becomes fulfilling, right? You don't need to have $1 million in the bank. And for the viewers, I want to make sure you understand this is true. You don't need $1 million in the bank to feel like a millionaire. All you need is you need a plan and a vision, right, that is compelling enough that makes you feel like, hey, I will have $1 million in the bank at some point. And if that what you write down is good enough, and the why, the reasons behind it are compelling enough, you will feel like a millionaire. You don't need the $1 million. But the opposite is true as well. Some people spend their lives, and by the way, this is what I learned when I was 16 years old. Although I was not a millionaire at 16, I was making good money. What you realize is you think the $1 million is what you want, and so people will work really hard towards the $1 million. All along the way, they're miserable. Then they get the $1 million, and they're still miserable. And unfortunately, that's why you see some of the most successful people in the world who take their own lives, or are on antidepressants, or are just living a life that is not beautiful and happy like it should be, and they have all the success. It's because somewhere along the way they thought that something outside of themselves is going to make them happy. And so my focus is on making sure people are happy with where they are at today. Because if you're not happy with who you are and what you have today, then when you get to your next step, when your dreams come true, you're still not going to be happy. And that's just the fact of life.
You are a consultant in weight loss, fitness, entrepreneurship, relationship, self-love, and you have a warrior mastermind. Don't you think that lots of things makes you less focused? And which area of those you like the most?
It's a good question. I don't believe lots of things makes me less focused, because there's a common thread amongst all those things. And it's a common thread where I believe success in one area and fulfillment in one area of life leads to success and fulfillment in other areas. And I believe that life is something where it's like the human body. So I studied neuroscience and I went to medical school. And what I learned was that in medicine, if someone is having heart problems or someone is having kidney problems or liver problems, you cannot just treat the heart. Because if you're just looking at the heart, then the person might have kidney failure. If, in fact, a lot of times when people are having issues with their heart, it's not the heart that they come in complaining about. Sometimes people are having heart failure, and the reason they go to the doctor is because they say that my ankles are bloated, right? So what if we were looking at that person as just one individual organ, we might treat their ankle, correct? Because there's certain issues with the heart where the blood doesn't return properly to the heart, and the heart doesn't pump blood properly. So literally your ankles swell up. And so you have this patient come in. If we treated their ankle, we would stick a drain in their ankle and drain out the blood, and it would go down, and they'd be back an hour later, a day later, a week later, a month later, because we haven't treated the real issue. And so, and there has to be a holistic approach, because what's best for the heart may not be what's best for the kidney. So we have to look at the entire body and say, what can we do to the heart that is good for the heart, but is not going to damage the kidney in such a way that it's overall going to be a negative as opposed to a positive. So I coach people on self-love, relationships, fitness, business, all of that, because I believe in a holistic system that addresses all those. So for example, many people come to me because they want to lose weight, and I coach them on how to lose weight. And my system of helping people lose weight is, I believe, more effective than any other system I've personally been exposed to. Now, there are thousands or millions of systems I've never been exposed to, but of the ones I've seen, I believe
What's
mine's
your
more
advice
effective.
in that? What you advise them usually?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I advise is I say, look, there are 10 pieces to the pie, and physical health is only one of those pieces. So if I give you a health and wellness program that takes 2 hours out of your day, assuming there are 24 hours in a day, you're going to sleep, let's say, for 8 of them. I personally don't sleep for 8, and most people I coach end up realizing that 6 hours or 7 hours of quality sleep for most people is better than 8, but let's assume you sleep 8. So now you have 16 hours left. Of those 16 hours, to spend 2 hours at the gym, which includes the drive there, being in the gym, working out, getting dressed, showered, and leaving. In some cases, people spend 3 hours there. That is way, way too much of your time spent there. And that's why you see people who lose weight in the short term and then gain it all back. It's not that the system is broken. It's that the system they're using is not sustainable over a lifetime. So what I teach people is, number one, when it comes to weight loss, is you size your body in the kitchen and you shape your body in the gym. What that means is, don't go to the gym to lose weight. Going to the gym to lose weight is a complete waste of your time, because you cannot possibly lose weight at the gym in a sustainable manner over a lifetime. Yes, you can go on the treadmill and torture yourself for 3 hours, but at the end of the 3 hours, you've burnt enough calories so that you can have one ice cream cone from Dairy Queen, or one hamburger and fries from In-N-Out Burger, right? So it doesn't make sense to go and work so hard to burn the calories and then think that now you're done. So you size your body with what you eat, and even with what you eat, I teach people to eat. I don't tell people to become vegan or vegetarian or any specific thing. I just give them a list of all the foods that you could possibly consume, and I put them in 4 categories. The one category is, eat as much of this stuff as you want. Second category is, hey, this stuff is good, but limit it. Be careful. This stuff could be bad for you if you have too much of it. The third category is a category of things that I say, eat it if you love it, but if you don't love it, don't eat it. For example, cheese falls into that category. Potatoes fall into that category. If you love cheese, I say eat it, but limit it. Don't sit there and eat an entire block of cheese. But if you're having a sandwich and you like cheese, don't cheat yourself out of the cheese. Have some cheese, right? But limit it. And then there's the final category of things that I believe should be completely eliminated. And something like, for example, ice cream falls into that category. Pizza falls into that category. And so it has to be eliminated, unless, of course, you're cheating, which in my diet I tell people you can do. In fact, ice cream and pizza, the reason I bring them up, are 2 of my favorite things, and I don't consume them every day. But if someone told me I had to give up ice cream and pizza for the rest of my life, I think I would lose weight in the short term, and at some point I would get off the diet, and I would eat so much pizza and ice cream that I'd gain all my weight back. So
it's a low carb thing, and like basically you make them eat everything, and it's like develop habits and track and use some systems to track, let's say, the calories to know that they are on the right track.
It's even simpler than that. One, it's not in a low carb diet, although yes, you reduce your carbs. You have carbohydrates, fats, and proteins are the 3 different main groups of things that I talk about. When it comes to carbohydrates, I recommend limiting the amount of carbohydrates, and within carbohydrates, having good carbohydrates as opposed to bad carbohydrates. So for example, if you like rice, then you should have brown rice as opposed to white rice, right? You should have wheat bread as opposed to white bread. So that's with carbohydrates, and there's more to that, but those are the basics of it. When it comes to fats, I recommend good fats as opposed to bad fats. So a good fat would be the fat that comes from peanuts, peanut butter, olive oil, as opposed to the bad fats that come from, say, butter, right? So you want to cut out the bad fat and have more of the good fat. When it comes to protein, I recommend getting your protein from healthy choices as opposed to unhealthy choices. So for example, and in any category, you have healthy and unhealthy choices. So if you're talking about meat, for example, you can have red meat, chicken, or fish. Well, fish is going to be the healthiest. Chicken is the second healthiest. Red meat is the least healthy. But if you're going to have red meat, within red meat, there are different types of meat you can consume. Let's say you're at a steakhouse. You can order a filet mignon, you can order a New York steak or a sirloin, or you can order ribeye. Well, the ribeye is the worst because it's got tons of fat on it, right? New York or sirloin is somewhere in the middle, and the filet is going to be the leanest. And so you choose the filet if you want the healthiest option. And more importantly, if you're eating at a restaurant, you tell them to hold the butter, because they'll serve you a filet mignon that may only have 200 calories. People don't realize this, but when you eat a filet mignon, it has almost no calories. It's much less than an ice cream cone or anything else, and it fills you up pretty good. They
mess it up with the mashed potato or potatoes or like French fries and these stuff.
Yeah, and exactly. It's the mashed potatoes, the French fries, and things like that. But that's what you see. What you don't see is that right before that steak came out, they also put a stick of butter on it. And that butter, that little glaze of butter on top, has more calories and is going to cause you to gain more weight than the entire steak. Or they decide to be healthy, for example, and they order, imagine the healthy meal. They order a piece of chicken, right? Some steamed vegetables, right? And on the side, they get, let's say, a salad. I mean, how do you get any healthier than that? Well, here's the problem with that. The chicken probably has butter all over it, or the fish probably has butter all over it at a restaurant. Then you get the grilled vegetables. You think you're being so healthy. But again, right before it came out, they put a stick of butter on there, right? And the salad that you think is so healthy because you ordered it with fat-free dressing, actually fat-free dressing is almost as bad as regular dressing because it's just full of sugar. How do you make something with no fat taste good? Just add more sugar. And so you have these fat-free dressings, and people think, oh, I'm being healthy, I'm eating a salad, but they're having fat-free dressing, and that dressing has more calories than, you may as well have just had 2 slices of pizza. And that's what I teach people. I say, look, what do you love? They say, I love pizza. I say, okay, I'll tell you what. Stop putting dressing on your salad and instead have 2 slices of pizza a week. And most people say, I'd love to do that. I'm more than happy not having any salad dressing 7 nights a week, and then one of the nights I eat 2 slices of pizza. And when you work out the calories, it works out the same. So I do want to go back to your comment, though. I don't have people I do not have people count their calories because I believe in my opinion, it's a waste of time and it's not sustainable over a lifetime. I don't tell people to create pre-ordered diets. I don't tell people to have 6 meals a day. All of those things are fancy little tricks that will work for a week, a month, or 3 months, but they are not sustainable over a lifetime. So I give a guide, again, 4 different groups of categories of foods, what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, what you should limit, and so on and so forth. And then what I have people do is I have people weigh themselves every single day. 7 days a week. Now, some diets specifically tell you don't weigh yourself every day. Mine is exactly the opposite. I say weigh yourself 7 days a week. So, do you need to count your calories on a Monday to know that you consume too much? No, because on Tuesday when you get on the scale will tell you consume too much, right? And so you're watching your weight every day, and you don't use a normal scale. They have these scales, and I don't, sponsor any of these companies, but there's one particular one that I use at home. It's called the Withings scale. It's spelled with things, all one word. So Withings, this scale, actually connects to the wireless internet in your home, and every time you weigh yourself, it essentially beams your weight to the internet, and you can have an app on your phone. So I have an iPhone here. I have an app where I can go on and I can track my weight. So I have my weight for every single day for the last 6 years of my life, tracked every day. So I see charts and graphs, and when I gain weight, I know I've gained weight. When I lose weight, I know I've lost weight. So basically, it's management by results as opposed to effort. And it's when you said, how can you coach fitness and nutrition and also coach business? The reason is because the tools are the same. So when I'm coaching a business person, I say, look, manage by results, not by effort. And when I'm talking to someone about losing weight, I say, look, manage your weight based on results, not effort. Effort would be counting your calories, or in the terms of a business, looking at how many hours an employee is working. Results is looking at key performance indicators, KPIs for my business folks out there. And so what's a KPI in business? Well, how much in sales you have, let's say. What's a KPI in your personal life? How much do you weigh? What's your body fat percentage? What's your net worth? How much debt do you have? What were your monthly expenses? How much was your income? How much did you invest? Right? Those types of things are the key performance indicators that you can track in your life. And you find really keeping yourself healthy, fit, a great relationship and great business, some simple principles will actually cover all of them.
You should weigh yourself like mainly in the morning when you wake up. And just to add there, like when I started really losing weight, I used an app called MyFitnessPal just for 1 month to understand, let's say, pineapple juice is better than orange juice in terms of calories, just to have an idea, to understand, and as you said, that replace this with that. And then I started developing a habit with without tracking, just to know this is better than this. And then, as you say, you weigh yourself like on daily basis or every 2 days to see on long term that you're losing slowly as a lifestyle, not to punish yourself. So yes. You should weigh yourself in the morning or evening?
You know, I tell people weigh yourself at a time where you're going to do it every single day. So if the morning's best for you, do it in the morning. If the evening's best for you, do it in the evening. In fact, it's interesting you asked me that question now, because I typically tell people to do it whenever they want. And then, of course, inherently they ask me, well, when do you do it? And so my answer has always been, well, I do it in the morning. I wake up, I use the restroom, and the next thing I do is I weigh myself. Why? Well, because it's an easy routine. I rarely forget. I forget sometimes as well, but I seldom forget to weigh myself with that routine. But then I caught myself a few times.
Plus, it feels the best because you are usually in the least weight of the day because you just slept.
Yeah, it's very true. Because by the way, you burn most of your calories at night while you're sleeping, which is interesting. And that's when your body is repairing, and that's part of the reason I focus so much on people having good quality sleep as opposed to more sleep, which is what people want. I teach people to have better quality sleep in fewer hours. But to comment on that, on the weight thing, I'm actually considering a switch to recommending that people weigh themselves at night, and I'm experimenting it with myself. And I know I don't ever teach anything until it works with me, and I prove it to work with some other people. Then I will share it publicly. But my theory on this that I'm trying to figure out, and I believe it to be true with my results so far, is that weighing yourself at night might actually be better for a lot of people. Because me, for example, dinner is when I typically will consume the most food, and dinner is when I'm more likely to cheat. And what I found out is I'll be sitting at the dinner table and I will eat a little bit extra and I'll have dessert, knowing that somehow, even though it doesn't make any sense, I don't have to weigh myself for another 14 hours because it's going to be in the morning. Whereas I found when I have to weigh myself at night after dinner, right, or before going to sleep, it makes me think that the consequences are closer. Meaning I'm eating dinner now, and in 90 minutes I have to get on the scale. So every bite is one extra whatever, amount of weight that I'm going to see on the scale. And it's I'm experimenting with it, and when I'm all done, I'll have my recommendations for people. But for now, I say pick a time, any time, and just be consistent with it.
Yeah, fear teaches a lot. If you can share with us like a sheet for those, like the schedule for the food, the 4 parts, and which one is better than the others, I appreciate it, so we can share it under the interview later. Tell us more about your events and masterminds, like how long it takes, how much it costs. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I do my events. I do 2 to 3 times a year. I'm holding these large scale events, which are my favorite thing to do. They're called Titanium Live. It's 3 days of me on stage and a group of really fun, amazing people. The way that I run my events, I tell people it's sort of a rock concert and a seminar combined into one. So some people come to my seminar because they love hearing what I have to say. But I'd say more than half the people come because they just love the environment. You're in this environment with a lot of really amazing people. We have a lot of competitions. We've got teams, 10 different teams with different team colors and different identities for the teams. It's so much fun. It becomes almost like, when people go through one of our events, let's say they go through as the yellow team or the red team, and it almost becomes part of their identity, kind of like, I went to school at Berkeley, so I'm a Cal Bear, and when I see people from Stanford, I kind of look at them and I say, "Oh, you Stanford people," and people get the same sense when they come to my events. So it's just a really fun time, and I get results for people. People come to my events, turn their business around, lose weight, get into good shape, turn their relationship around, find the relationship they've been looking for, and so many other things. But they get results. So the fun isn't just for fun. There's something happening there, and there's some magic and there's some science behind it. Those are 3-day events. The cost to attend one of my seminars is typically about $600. Although if you buy the tickets in advance, we often sell them for much less than that with the early bird discounts. I believe right now, in fact, we've got our next event is February of 2015 in the Los Angeles area. And don't quote me on this, please go online, but I think for the next couple weeks, tickets are at, I think, about $200 or $250. So very, very low rates if you buy them in advance. I also do a 1-day time management seminar. I do a 1-day business seminar. Prices for those can be found online. And then I do a 1-day leadership course, which is only for people who've come through Titanium once and they've graduated from Titanium. Then they can participate in this leadership. And then I have all kinds of masterminds. These masterminds are for people who want specific results in one area. So it could be my Business Crushers Mastermind, Entrepreneurship Mastermind, weight loss, fitness, whatever it is. And so for those, there are 2 monthly meetings that are via phone. So it's a phone conference. Sometimes it could be a webinar. And it's me leading the group and giving them new content in whatever area. And then it's also a way for me to hold people accountable. So I will assign things for the team to do. There are emails that go out. Either way, it's a beautiful community where you can associate with people who are very like-minded. My favorite of all of them, 2 of my favorites, are the fitness one and the Business Crushers. You know, my Business Crushers mastermind, we have some brilliant, brilliant business people, many of them who have attained much success in business than even I have, and they come together. There's a group of, we limit those groups to about 12 or 15 people max, and when they come together, I mean, one person will ask a question and sparks fly, and you've got all these different answers coming from people within this group, and that's the point of a mastermind. And
it's
my
a membership or how it works?
Yeah, so you pay a monthly fee to be a part of it. There's a 6-month commitment for most of them. The cost of the masterminds varies, so it would be best to check on our website, titaniumsuccess.com. But some of them are very, very affordable, as low as $100 a month. Some, like the business one, are more expensive than that, but still they're very, very affordable. It's an affordable way to get me to coach you on a regular basis, because the third option after the seminars and the masterminds is one-on-one coaching with me. And for my one-on-one coaching, I typically don't promote it very much at all. I don't really talk about it a lot. People hear about it, but I limit myself to no more than 10 individual clients at any one time. And so most times I can't take on any new clients, or maybe I have slots for 1 or 2 more. At this time, I think we probably could take on 1 more client, but no more than that until we have some spaces open up. So with my one-on-one coaching, the price tag is fairly high. Because of everything that I deliver. I talk to my clients weekly. I email, text message, and do all that sort of stuff almost on a daily basis. It's regular accountability, constant feedback, which is really great for some people, but for others, either the costs are too high, or it's they're not ready for that step yet, or unfortunately I can't take them on as a client. And so I always suggest a mastermind is a great way of getting me on a regular basis, and doing it at a very, very nominal cost.
Curious, like, how do you market for your services? Like, is your strategy, from how I am looking at it, like through this research, I noticed that you don't market a lot online, so you just have, like, let's say, bi-yearly events, and then maybe when you have the events, you do, let's say, social media ads on things to fill the events. And then through the events, you have like referrals and word of mouth for coaching clients all over the year. Is that your strategy to minimize the noise and lots of marketing and things, or how it works? Just like, this is how I analyzed it, that's how you market for your services.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right in that we don't market and advertise a lot. And the reality of it is, because in a business like Titanium Success, or even in all green recycling, most of my companies, I shy away from a lot of marketing and advertisement. And I believe that the best companies in the world are those that are driven by word of mouth. And so my last event, 50% of the people who were in the room were referred by previous participants. And believe it or not, 20% of the room were repeat participants. So that's a big number. That means 1 out of every 5 people had already been to an event and was paying to go through it again. And so when you have that high of a percentage of your clients either repeat or referral, it creates for a much better base. One, it costs a lot less to have people come back. As far as finances, money up front, although in reality, the only way you can get people to come back is you just have to add tons and tons and tons of value. But that's what I've been fortunate to be able to do is I've added a lot of value for people. So when they come to my seminars, I always over deliver. You know, my coaching clients, right before I had this with you, I had a coaching client that I was supposed to coach for 50 minutes, and an hour and 45 minutes into the call, she said, well, don't you have another appointment? And I said, oh, yes, I have to go for an interview. But by over-delivering, now she's referring me to her family and her friends. But that's the typical way that I do marketing. But we do traditional marketing too. We do ads online. We do social media marketing. We do some print ads and email campaigns and things. But they're only for about 20% of our total traction. And my goal in the long term is to fill rooms with 5,000 to 10,000 people. And if I have 10,000 people in the room, my goal is that 9,000 of them are repeat and referrals, and only 1,000 of them are people who are coming in through traditional marketing streams.
You learned more from your successes or failures, and why?
Oh, no question. You learn more from your failures if you allow yourself to learn from them. In fact, you can't really see it, but right behind me up there's a picture of a basketball, and it's a quote by Michael Jordan. If you don't mind, I turn around and I read it to you. It says, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot, and I've missed. I've failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." Failure can be looked at in multiple ways. I embrace failure. I love failure. I ask for it. I call it. Now I don't call it by being lazy and not following through and then saying, well, I failed. No, I look at failure in the eyes and say, listen, I'm going to conquer you. But if you come and get me, I'm not scared of you, because I might fail once. I might get knocked down, but I'm getting right back up. There's no question that in the game of life, if life was boxing, you are not going to get through life without getting knocked down. But the question is, do you get knocked down or do you get knocked out? And in my life, I've been knocked down more times than I can possibly remember. Michael Jordan has statistics he can look back on, but no one's keeping stats on my life. So I don't know how many hundreds of times I've fallen flat on my face. But the one thing is for sure is I always get right back up. And so my failures are unquestionably where I've learned the most. And any success I've ever had in life, I believe, has come as a result of a previous failure. And I have no reason to believe that.
Sorry?
I said, and I have no reason to believe that would change. I assume going forward it'll be the same.
Do you have any current fears or future fears, if any? And why?
Well, absolutely, I have fears. People will come to me because part of what I do, which we haven't talked about, is I'm a specialist in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, so I can have people overcome fears. I can have people overcome phobias. And sometimes people will come to me and say, help me overcome my fear of heights. And I'll say, why? And they'll say, well, because I don't want to be scared of heights. And I'll say, well, that's crazy. If you're not scared of heights, you're going to die because you're going to fall off a really tall building or fall off something really high. And so the question I then ask them is, I say, is this a false, debilitating fear? Meaning, are you scared of heights? Because if you're scared of heights, good. That's a very, very good thing. You want to be scared of heights. Trust me. Otherwise, you're going to go on a 4th floor balcony and you're going to decide to balance yourself on the ledge, and you're going to lift up one of your legs and start whistling and talking and dancing until you fall off and kill yourself. So fear of heights is a very good thing. But a debilitating false fear is a totally different story. So people will come to me and because they say, well, I have a phobia of confined spaces. And I say, once again, hey, that's a good thing, because you don't want to, decide to take a nap in your microwave or your kitchen in the refrigerator or in a drawer in your desk, because that's not a good thing. You could suffocate. But they say, oh, well, I have a phobia of, for example, being on the subway. And I say, oh, because that's not really that confined of a space. It's not hurting you. And so that background is to basically say that I don't believe there's anything wrong with fears. I think fears are a good thing. We all have them. And the people who claim they don't are they lying or dying. Because if you don't have fear, you're either going to get yourself killed, or you're just lying and you're keeping it inside. So I certainly have lots of fears, but I don't have. I've eliminated all of the debilitating false fears in my life. So I don't have a fear of failure. I don't have a fear of. I mentioned heights. I used to have a phobia with heights. I used to go on a second floor building, and if I went out to the balcony, I would start shaking. Well, that's debilitating. Today, you could put me on the 90th floor of a building, and I'll walk right up to the balcony, and I'll, get out right up to the edge, holding the rails. Now, if I stick my head out and I start looking down, I get a little uncomfortable. But you know what? That's a good thing, because that'll keep me out of harm's way.
Share with us some tools or softwares that you use that makes you more efficient.
Yeah, for efficiency, I use multiple different tools. There's things that in my seminar I share with people. Just a couple of quick ones that I can blurt out here that I think everyone should use is for your personal finances, mint.com, mint.com, the best personal finance tool you could possibly use. It's incredible. I have all my clients use it. And again, I'm not affiliated with them or anything. I won't talk about the specifics of what it does, but it's a great tool. The whipping scale and the connection that it has to the internet and your apps, it's a great tool. For businesses, if you are a salesperson or you're a company that has sales, or if you're an individual operator or you have a small business, Salesforce.com, regardless of your size, is an incredibly powerful tool that if you use properly, you can track your sales. And although I think it's valuable for companies of any size, I believe for small businesses and individual owners, people who operate by themselves, Salesforce.com is critical because it allows you to create a sales funnel and track your sales. Those are three quick tools that I'll throw out there. I have a tool, some of the tools that I have that I share with people at my seminars and as part of my masterminds, which if any of the folks watching choose to attend or join one of those, I would love to have you there. But I have, my fitness guide. I have a 4 to 5 page fitness guide that all really breaks down into one page. That's the magic. I have a 25-minute workout, which is it's a predetermined workout. It's 4 different days, and it's very simple to do. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner, you're intermediate, or you've been working out for 10, 20 years. It's a very simple tool that you can use. For time management, I have this one tool which is going to be developed into an application, but I have a tool that's literally a Microsoft Word document that you can use to maintain your tasks, and it plays on the concept I talked about before with knowing what you want, why you want it, and everything. Those are some of my tools, and then the first ones I mentioned, of course, are some public tools and tools that are out there from other companies.
How does your life, daily life and work routine look like, and what are your other hobbies?
Yeah, so my day typically begins really early. Although I grew up thinking I was not a morning person and I love to sleep in, I realized at one point that my life just wasn't fulfilling, and that's why I didn't really have a reason to get up early in the morning. So these days, I like to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning on the weekdays, which is really early, I know. But I have this theory that if the sun beats me out of bed, then I'm already starting my day late and I'm already behind. And so I love getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I get up, and within about 10 minutes, I like to get out of the house and go for a very, very quick jog. Now, I don't believe in doing cardiovascular exercise at all. In fact, my fitness routine is 25 minutes of weightlifting that has cardio built into it. So the reason I do a jog is not for cardio, but I do a jog. It's more for it's a mental exercise, and I do this practice of incantations where I repeat certain phrases over and over again, and incantations are something that we won't get into too deep now, but it's a great exercise to keep your mind focused and make sure your subconscious mind and your conscious mind are on the same page. So within 10 minutes, I'm out of the house. I do 5 to 7 minutes, sometimes maximum 10 minutes of the jog. I come back home and I give myself another 10 minutes to get out of the house for good for the day. So I'll get in, I'll grab my gym clothes. I wear my gym clothes out of the house, and I grab my work clothes, put those in the car, and I head out. I get to the gym. And from the gym, I give myself exactly 50 minutes. Now, when I coach ladies, I tell the ladies they have 60 minutes because they sometimes have a few more things to do. But it's 50 or 60 minutes car to car. And car to car means from the moment you get out of your car to going in the gym, locker room, whatever you're going to do, getting up to the gym floor, working out, completing your workout. And now here's the tricky part, getting back in the locker room, showering, shaving, putting on your makeup, getting dressed, whatever else you're going to do. You have to do all of those things and then get back in your car, for men in less than 50 minutes and for women in less than 60 minutes. Because if you're going to take more than that, it is not going to be sustainable. Now, if you're at a gym that's dirty and you're not comfortable, well, here's what I'd say. Hey, you might need to spend a few more dollars getting a better gym membership. It's well worth it because it'll help you make you that much more efficient. So I'm up at 4, again, out of the house, do my incantations, get out of the house very quickly, head to the gym, spend 50 minutes car to car. Then I get back in, and at that point, I'm off to the office. I get to the office or to my meetings or wherever I have to go. I work my butt off all day. I'm in the zone. I don't allow personal things to interfere my work. So if my friends or family are texting me or calling me, I typically will not respond to them during the day unless I'm on a restroom break or I'm having lunch or something like that. Even in those cases, it's rare. I usually ignore all personal things until the day is done. And at one point, I switch from what I call career zone to personal zone. And so I'll say, okay, I'm done with work. Shut it off. Right? I get in my car and I head home, or if I'm picking up my kids from school, I have 2 beautiful little girls. They're 2 and 3 years old. And so either I pick them up from school or in most cases I go home and someone's already picked them up and they're at home, and I'll go home and I'll spend time with them. And you know that my nightly routine differs. Like today happens to be a Tuesday that we're doing with this interview. Tuesdays are date night with my wife. So on Tuesdays, we forget the fact that we have kids. We forget that we have friends. We forget all of that stuff, and we go on a date. And sometimes our dates are really boring. We'll just go do Taco Tuesday. Sometimes our dates are fun and crazy and adventurous. Sometimes I surprise my wife with a fun little add-on to our date. You know, sometimes we'll cheat and go eat pizza and have some ice cream afterwards. Sometimes we're healthy and we eat at Whole Foods and have a salad with, you know, a little bit of olive oil and vinaigrette dressing.
She's hating us now?
I'm sorry?
She's hating us now?
No, well, that's at night. So she gets to have me tonight. So yeah, you know, so my nightly routine differs, but the key to my day is I go from one zone to the next. What that means is when I'm with my kids, 90% of the time, now there are exceptions because sometimes you just can't turn off your phone, but 90% of the time I'm not answering work calls. And when I'm at work, 90% of the time I'm not answering personal calls. When I'm on a date with my wife, I'm not worried about how are the kids, where are the kids. You know what? I'm intelligent enough to leave my kids with someone who's going to take care of them. And once I leave the house, I'm done. Right, my wife and I just took a vacation together. We had a beautiful time on the island of Cozumel in Mexico and Cancun. And while we were there, we didn't have the kids with us. And we didn't worry about them the whole time because we left them with someone we trust and someone we love. And we were focused in the zone of relaxation and intimacy and love with each other. And so my day can be very much summarized in pieces that are all self-contained. And
do you follow any routine to sleep?
Tell me one last time.
Do you follow any routine to sleep?
You know, as far as my sleep routine, it's pretty simple. I don't believe in getting in bed unless you're going to sleep. So I always say the bed was made for 2 things and 2 things only: intimacy and sleep. To use some PG words, that's all your bed is made for. So I don't believe in reading for extended periods of time in bed. I don't believe in watching TV from bed. Well, TV, I completely do not believe in it at all. In fact, I don't believe in television or radio. Television is the electronic income reducer, as I've learned from some of my coaches. And the radio is a great way of wasting time while you're in the car. So while you're in the car, I believe in listening to books on tape, listening to audio programs and things like that, which is what I always do. My car is what Jim Rohn, one of my coaches, calls a mobile classroom. That's what it is. Every day when I get into my car, I'm inside of a mobile classroom. And
what do you use Audible?
I use Audible. I use iTunes. I also purchase audio programs from various different sources and take the CDs, and they still come on CDs, right? I pop them in my computer and then transfer them to iTunes and put it on my phone. And at any point, if I launch my phone, I mean, if I go on here, if I were to step in my car, by the way, the Bluetooth would automatically pick up my Audible, and the book starts without even me trying to turn it on. It's a beautiful feature. I love it. Sometimes people sit in my car and they say, well, what is that? But, if I just go to Audible right now, there's the book I'm reading right now. It's a book called Good to Great. I've read it. I believe I've read this book 12 times. So this might be my 13th, 14th time, and I'm listening to it. I've read the actual book. But going back to your question with sleep, so then my belief is you just get into bed and you go to sleep. I do some meditation to help me sleep if I feel like I'm going to have difficulty sleeping. But my key to sleep is this simple routine that I'll share with you very briefly, is that if you want to know how much sleep you need and you want to control your sleep, the way you do it is this. Most people control what time they wake up in the morning. So if they get to bed later, they feel tired, what do? They sleep in the morning. I have a simple rule. You do not get to change what time you wake up in the morning, but you get to go to sleep whenever you want. So if you think you need 12 hours of sleep, perfect. You're going to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and if you want 12 hours of sleep, then go to sleep at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, what most people will do when I challenge them to do that, the first day, they'll end up getting only 3 or 4 hours of sleep because they'll stay up too late. By the second or third or fourth day, they're going to start getting really tired. And so they're going to be smarter about when they go to sleep. And within about a week, it takes a total of about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it becomes a lifestyle. But at about a week, you're pretty much set where you start to understand how much sleep you need. Now, when I do this, it typically turns out I need somewhere between 5 to 6 hours of sleep. At 5 hours, I'm okay, but I'm a little tired. At 6 hours, I'm solid. Now, one of the things is, though, I don't drink caffeine because I believe that caffeine, it gives you a short burst, but then it tires you out later. And, I know a lot of people who will drink caffeine in the afternoon and in the evening. And having caffeine in the afternoon and evening just means that now you're going to need to spend more time in bed getting less restful sleep. So that caffeine, although it gives you a pickup today, it really hurts you for tomorrow, because tomorrow, you don't get the sleep you need tonight, and so tomorrow you're not going to be as alert and as well rested.
But how to switch off? How to switch off? Like, it's very difficult sometimes for me to switch off my brain and not to think about new idea or to put a new note on Evernote, or that's what, like, sometimes you feel that you are in this zone of sleeping and then it just goes away suddenly and you stay awake for 3-4 hours.
Yeah, well, I have two answers to that. I think the one answer is, most of the time when I find people who say I have a hard time turning it off at night, it's because they're not on a good sleep schedule. If you're on a good sleep schedule, I'm telling you, when I'm not perfect either. So keep in mind, I talk about these things and I'm good at doing them 90-95% of the time, but I fall off the wagon like anybody else does sometimes, and I have to get myself back on. But when I'm on my game, I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm in bed by, say, about 10 or 11 o'clock. Let me tell you, when 10:30 comes around and I get to bed, I don't care what I have in my head. I hit that bed and it's, I am out. I don't care if I've discovered that the secret to life, or I've solved one of the biggest problems of the universe. I'm so tired that I hit that bed and I'm out cold. Now, there might be exceptions every once in a while. And again, it's very, 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 very seldom. And when that's the case, or for me, I feel this way when sometimes, let's say I sleep in, I get lazy, and instead of getting up at 4 a.m., I get up at 6:30 a.m. Well, now I've had an extra 2.5 hours of sleep, and I wake up, and the problem is that night, there's no way I'm going to be tired at 10 or 10:30. So my body's going to want to stay up later. And that's when your brain starts giving you excuses by giving you all these great ideas, because it's just a trick. It's a way for it to not want to go to sleep.
You don't do any naps?
I don't believe in naps. Now, here's the thing with naps. When I say I don't believe in naps, I don't believe in naps for Arman Sadeghi. For my body, napping doesn't work because when I take a nap, I end up more tired. But for some people, from what I understand, napping works really well for them. They do a quick power nap, 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is, and they wake up feeling great. I've tried it, and it doesn't work for me. So I don't tell people to take naps or not. I personally don't like them, but people do as they want. But what I do, if I am in one of those circumstances where my mind is racing, I do a simple, it's sort of a meditation technique that I was taught 15 years ago when I went to the doctor complaining that I was an insomniac. And really what it was is I was just sleeping too much in the mornings and I couldn't sleep at night, which is what I find for 90% of the people who see me and tell me they're insomniacs. It's just they're laying in bed for too many hours and not getting restful sleep. And so it's a simple exercise where you close your eyes, and there are multiple ways of doing it, but you can imagine that you're laying on a cloud, and as thoughts come to your mind, you acknowledge the thought. So let's say you think about, oh, I've got to take the kids to school tomorrow. You acknowledge that you have that thought, and then you imagine it as a piece of paper, and you imagine it going away from the cloud, and then it disappears, right? And then you just go back to focusing on your breathing, and almost immediately you'll have another thought come up. Again, acknowledge it, because your brain wants to know that you've acknowledged it, right? Acknowledge it, and then watch it disappear again. The next one comes. Acknowledge it, and watch it disappear again. And then every once in a while, you'll have an old thought that you already had come back, and again, you acknowledge it and watch it disappear. And when I do this exercise, and when I do it with people, they find that often within a few minutes, they're out cold. Because it's your brain just wants to know that those thoughts are going to be acknowledged. And I do a slight variation of it sometimes, where if I have thoughts that are negative thoughts that I don't want to have, I imagine that they go into a trash can. So now there's a little trash can sitting next to me on my cloud. Now, you can have trash cans. If you can imagine you're on a cloud, you can have a trash can there too. And so I imagine it goes into the trash can. And if it's a very positive or good thought that I don't want to forget, I imagine that instead of it getting crumpled up and going away, I imagine it gets filed away in a folder. And so it goes into that folder.
It's like the old-fashioned way of Windows when it's like that.
That's exactly it. Yes. So you can think of it that way, and so it works for me to help me go to sleep when I'm not ready.
Who are your top 3 mentors?
My top 3 mentors. Gosh, that's a great question. I would have to say, my mother and my father. I've got to lump them up together because I've learned so much from them, and it's amazing because my dad has a way with his words. He has such beautiful words. When he speaks, it just inspires me, and he has inspired me for 30 some years. My mom is this woman who's all about action. Her words aren't inspiring. She wasn't blessed with the gift of being able to talk to people and make them inspire me. When she speaks, she's perfectly fine, but she doesn't inspire people with her words. But her actions, man, I'll tell you, her actions are inspiring. She's the kind of woman who, when we were younger and struggling financially, she used to work 2 full-time jobs and still come home and cook for us and clean after us and all that stuff. And just an incredible woman. So they're my mentors. Anthony Robbins is a huge mentor for me. He is, in my mind, one of the kindest and most knowledgeable people in the area of personal development, and I've learned a lot from him. My third mentor, my gosh, so difficult because I pride myself on having so many different mentors. But, I'd say the third person is my wife. I've learned so much from her in 8 years of being with her. She's this incredible woman, and I've learned more from her than I could have ever imagined when I decided to get married. But she's beautiful, she's brilliant, she's beautiful inside and out. She's brilliant. I watch how she, wins people over with her beautiful heart, and I could read all the books in the world, but just watching her for an hour teaches me how to truly lead with my heart and with love.
The most important factors for success in 3 words.
Hard work and efficiency.
All right. Your top 3 apps that you use on your smartphone.
Top 3 apps. Ooh, that's a good one. Let me look at my phone. Withings is a big one. I love Withings. Mint.com is the second one, and I don't know if the text messaging one counts, but I use text messaging a lot. But let's see, what's my third favorite? Ooh, I like these questions, by the way.
Thank you.
It's yeah, it would have to be text messaging. I use text messaging so
like
much
WhatsApp
that even though
you
it's
use?
built in.
WhatsApp you
What's
use?
that?
You use like WhatsApp?
WhatsApp, I do. Yeah. Yeah, I was going to name that as one of them, but I decided, the text messaging feature I use more than WhatsApp. So,
What are the habits that you're trying to develop to stay efficient?
Doing a time management exercise every morning, because it's difficult to get yourself to focus on time management when you're busy, and when you're busy and overwhelmed is when you need time management the most. So I try not to fall victim to that, and so every morning I like to do a time management session. That's a big one I'm trying to develop. Another one that I'm always working on, and I don't know if I'll ever get to stop working on this, but my oldest daughter is 3.5 years old, and I won't say I struggle, but it's something I have to consistently work on is figuring out how to spend more and more quality time with her. So the habit I'm trying to build there is to spend good quality time with my 2 daughters on a regular basis, and make sure that I'm 100% present when I'm there. I'm always working on my sleep habits. I'm always working on my eating habits. I'm always working on my language and the way I treat other people, because I want to be loving and kind to everyone I come across. And sometimes that's hard when you're going through life, everyday life. But that's a habit that the more you work on, the better you get at it. And I work on it every day.
Your top 3 favorite books.
Top 3 favorite books. My favorite book of all time, without question, is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. My second favorite book of all time is a business book that I showed you on my phone I was reading. It's Good to Great. It's an incredible book by Jim Collins. Yeah. And the third book is actually a book by it's Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. Great
biography.
Book. Yes, his biography. It's a beautiful, and actually a lot of other things by Walter Isaacson as well. The Einstein book is incredible as well. But Steve Jobs' book is just so many lessons in there for business people and for non-business people. But I enjoyed that a lot.
Top 3 people that you're inspired by.
Top 3 people that I'm inspired by. I would say. Gosh, that's a good question. So many people who inspire me. I'm inspired by Abraham Lincoln, who obviously is no longer with us, but his words and his wisdom inspire me to this day. I'm very much inspired by Tony Robbins still to this day, an incredible man. I won't bring my mother and father back into this, but they inspire me quite a bit. I say, gosh, there's so many. I'll just have to. Third would just have to be my father. He inspires me consistently.
What makes you really happy?
What makes me really happy? gosh, life, just being alive. I don't need too many reasons to be happy. I'm sort of maybe I'm a crazy person, and I teach other people to join my crazy party. But just life makes me happy. Being alive, being here. If I'm healthy, I'm happy. If I'm under the weather, I'm still happy. If I'm wealthy, if I'm not, if whatever it is, I love life.
Last question: how people can contact you?
Multiple ways of. The easiest way is via email. Our website is titaniumsuccess.com. My email is just my first name, Arman, ARMAN, @titaniumsuccess.com. Our phone number is on the website, and people can always use that. I believe, let me look at one of my business cards to tell you what the number is. It's supposed to be an easy one, so you remember, but it's a toll-free number. It's 844-8-TITANIUM. So 844-8-TITANIUM. And here's I'm talking about the phone starts ringing. So I think it heard me. But Arman at titaniumsuccess.com is typically the easiest way.
Thank you so much, Arman, for this beautiful journey, not interview. Really enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you so much for taking the time, and for everyone who is out there watching. I just hope that my words will inspire you to want more from your life, and not just more stuff, but to want more fulfillment out of your life, because it's the one true gift that I've been given by my mentors, and I hope that I can share that gift with you at some point.
Thank you, my pleasure. Thanks everyone. Be efficient and stay efficient, and see you soon with another leading expert.